Welcome to my channel. This channel is dedicated to horror stories. The dim glow of the laptop screen cast an eerie hue across the room as I sat hunched over my desk, lost in the digital abyss of late-night browsing. It was 2:25 a.m., and the world outside my window was shrouded in darkness, a stark contrast to the artificial illumination emanating from my device. I absent-mindedly scrolled through endless streams of social media updates and news articles, each click of the mouse pulling me deeper into the virtual labyrinth. Time seemed to lose all meaning as I lost myself in the endless cycle of mindless consumption, the minutes blurring into hours. "Hey, are you still up?" A voice called from the other room, breaking through the silence of the night. I glanced over at the door to see my roommate Sarah, leaning against the frame, her expression a mixture of concern and amusement. "Yeah, couldn't sleep," I replied sheepishly, tearing my gaze away from the screen for a moment. Sarah chuckled and shook her head. "You know, staring at that screen isn't going to help. You should try reading a book or something." I forced a smile, though her words struck a chord. Deep down, I knew she was right, but the allure of the digital world was too strong to resist. I know, I muttered half-heartedly, returning my attention to the screen. "I'll turn in soon, I promise." Sarah raised an eyebrow skeptically, but didn't press the issue further. With a shrug, she disappeared back into her room, leaving me once again alone with my thoughts and the soft glow of the laptop screen. As the minutes ticked by, a sense of restlessness gnawed at the edges of my mind, urging me to break free from the digital trance that held me captive. But despite my best intentions, I found myself unable to tear myself away, lost in a sea of endless scrolling and digital distractions. Little did I know, this seemingly innocuous late-night ritual would soon lead me down a path from which there would be no turning back. With the clock ticking past 2:30 a.m., I continued my late-night scrolling, my eyelids growing heavy with fatigue. Just as I was about to close my laptop and admit defeat to the night, a sudden movement on the screen caught my eye. A plain white square, framed in bold red, materialized in the corner. "What's this?" I muttered to myself, my curiosity piqued by the unexpected intrusion. My mouse hovered over the square, the cursor trembling with anticipation. "Hey, what are you looking at?" Sarah's voice echoed from the hallway, her footsteps drawing closer. I hesitated for a moment, torn between the urge to investigate further and the instinct to heed Sarah's earlier warning about the perils of late-night browsing. "Just something weird on the screen," I replied, my voice tinged with uncertainty. "Probably nothing." Sarah appeared at the doorway, her eyes narrowing as she peered over my shoulder at the screen. "That does look strange. Are you sure you should click on it?" I shrugged, my curiosity overriding any sense of caution. "It's probably just some random pop-up. I'll close it in a second." But as the seconds ticked by, I found myself unable to tear my gaze away from the mysterious square, its red frame pulsating with an almost hypnotic rhythm. With a shaky breath, I summoned the courage to click on it, my heart pounding in anticipation of what lay beyond. The screen flickered momentarily before a new tab opened, revealing a blank page with a blinking cursor and an ominous message in bold letters. "This link will disappear in 60 seconds. "Whoa, what's happening?" Sarah exclaimed, her eyes widening in surprise as she leaned in for a closer look. "I don't know," I replied, my voice barely above a whisper as I watched the countdown timer tick down in real time. "But I think I clicked on something I shouldn't have." As the seconds dwindled, a sense of unease washed over me, the weight of my impulsive decision bearing down on me like a leaden weight. With each passing moment, the countdown seemed to mock me, counting down the seconds until my fate was sealed. And as the final seconds ticked away, I braced myself for whatever lay beyond, knowing that once I crossed that threshold, there would be no turning back. As the clock ticked relentlessly towards the ominous deadline imposed by the mysterious link, I found myself paralyzed by indecision. My cursor hovered over the blinking square, the weight of my impending choice bearing down on me like a leaden weight. "Come on, just click it already," a voice whispered in the back of my mind, coaxing me towards the unknown. But another voice, tinged with caution and uncertainty, urged restraint. What if it's a scam? What if it's some kind of virus? I chewed nervously on my lip, torn between the thrill of curiosity and the fear of potential consequences. In the silence of the night, the only sound was the rapid thumping of my heart, echoing in the confines of my chest like a drumbeat of uncertainty. Just then, a soft ping echoed through the room, signaling the arrival of a new message. I glanced at the notification, my pulse quickening with anticipation. It was Sarah, poking her head into my room with a quizzical expression. "Everything okay? You look like you've seen a ghost." I forced a weak smile, trying to mask the turmoil brewing beneath the surface. "Yeah, just debating whether to click on this link. It's probably nothing, but..." Sarah's brow furrowed with concern as she stepped further into the room, her gaze fixed on the blinking square on my screen. "Be careful, okay? You never know what kind of shady stuff is out there on the internet." Her words struck a chord, sending a shiver down my spine. I nodded solemnly, grateful for her words of caution. "I'll be fine," I assured her, though doubt lingered in the back of my mind like a lingering shadow. With a final glance at the screen, I made my decision. With a trembling hand, I clicked the link, bracing myself for whatever lay on the other side. As the new tab opened before me, a sense of apprehension washed over me like a tidal wave. Little did I know, his seemingly innocuous decision would set into motion a chain of events that would forever alter the course of my life. As the new tab loaded, I held my breath, anticipation coiling in the pit of my stomach like a slithering serpent. The screen flickered to life, revealing a dark video feed with a blinking red dot in the corner, pulsating with an eerie rhythm. My heart pounded in my chest as I leaned closer, my eyes fixated on the unfolding scene. A figure materialized in the dimly lit frame, its outline shrouded in shadow and uncertainty. Every movement was jagged and unnatural, sending a chill down my spine. I watched in silent horror as the figure lurched forward, its movements devoid of any semblance of humanity. "What the hell is that?" I muttered, my voice barely above a whisper, as I struggled to comprehend the surreal sight before me. Sarah's voice pierced the tense silence, her concern palpable as she peered over my shoulder. "Is that from the link you clicked? That's seriously messed up." I nodded mutely, my gaze still transfixed on the screen. The figure in the video seemed to twitch and contort, its movements growing more erratic with each passing moment. Fear clawed at the edges of my mind as I grappled with the unsettling reality of what I was witnessing. "Should we call the police or something?" Sarah suggested, her voice tinged with unease. I shook my head, my thoughts racing as I tried to make sense of the situation. "I don't know. What if this is some kind of prank or a hoax? We need to figure out what's going on before we involve anyone else." But even as I spoke the words, doubt gnawed at the edges of my resolve. Something about the scene unfolding before me felt undeniably sinister, a creeping sense of dread that refused to be ignored. As the minutes stretched on, the tension in the room became almost palpable, thickening the air with an oppressive weight. Little did I know, this unnerving encounter was only the beginning of a descent into darkness from which there would be no escape. The seconds dragged on like an eternity as I watched the unsettling scene unfold before me. The figure on the screen continued its jerky movements, its silhouette casting ominous shadows against the dimly lit backdrop. My mind raced with a torrent of questions, each one more pressing than the last. What, What is that thing? Sarah's voice trembled with fear as she spoke, her eyes wide with disbelief. I shook my head, my thoughts swirling in a maelstrom of confusion and terror. I don't know, but it's not human. It can't be. As the figure in the video twitched and convulsed, a cold realization began to dawn on me. Wait a minute. I think that's me. Sarah's hand flew to her mouth in shock, her eyes darting between the screen and my face in disbelief. What do you mean, it's you? That's impossible. But even as she spoke the words, I could feel the truth sinking in like a lead weight in the pit of my stomach. The figure on the screen bore an uncanny resemblance to me, its movements mirroring my own with eerie precision. It's like it's watching us, Sarah whispered, her voice barely audible above the hum of the laptop's fan. My heart pounded in my chest as I struggled to make sense of the surreal scene unfolding before me. The implications were too horrifying to contemplate, too surreal to be real. I don't understand. How is this possible? I muttered, my voice barely above a whisper as I stared at the screen in disbelief. But deep down I knew the answer. There was only one explanation for what I was seeing, one horrifying truth that I couldn't bring myself to accept. The figure on the screen was me, and whatever twisted force had brought me to this moment was far beyond my comprehension. Little did I know, this revelation was only the beginning of a nightmare from which there would be no waking. With the chilling revelation of the live stream showing a doppelganger of myself, the need for answers became paramount. My mind raced with a flurry of questions, each one driving me deeper into a state of frantic urgency. As I stared at the screen, my hands trembled with a mixture of fear and determination. We have to figure out what's going on, I declared, my voice tinged with a sense of urgency. Sarah nodded in agreement, her expression a mixture of concern and resolve. Agreed, but where do we even start? I paused for a moment, my mind racing as I tried to formulate a plan of action. We need to trace the source of the live stream. If we can find out who's behind this, maybe we can put an end to it. With newfound determination, I began scouring the internet for any clues that might lead us closer to the truth. Every click of the mouse felt like a step closer to unraveling the mystery that had ensnared us in its sinister grasp. Hours passed in a blur as we delved deeper into the digital labyrinth, following breadcrumbs of information in search of answers. But with each dead end we encountered, the sense of frustration and helplessness grew more palpable. This is insane, Sarah muttered, her voice laced with frustration. It's like we're chasing shadows. I nodded grimly, the weight of our futile efforts bearing down on me like a suffocating blanket. But even as doubt threatened to consume us, a spark of determination flickered to life within me. We can't give up now, I insisted, my voice tinged with resolve. There has to be a way to uncover the truth, no matter how elusive it may seem. With renewed determination, we continued our search, clinging to the hope that somewhere amid the chaos of the digital realm, we would find the answers we so desperately sought. Little did we know, the journey ahead would lead us down a path fraught with danger and deception, testing the limits of our resolve in ways we could never have imagined. As our investigation delved deeper into the dark corners of the internet, we stumbled upon a web of deceit and manipulation that sent shivers down our spines. Threads of information intertwined in a sinister tapestry, painting a chilling picture of a conspiracy far more nefarious than we could have ever imagined. This goes way deeper than we thought, Sarah whispered, her voice tinged with disbelief as she scanned through the latest findings. I nodded grimly, my eyes fixed on the screen as I absorbed the magnitude of what we had uncovered. It's like we've stumbled into a labyrinth of lies and deception. But who's pulling the strings? As we sifted through the tangled mess of information, a pattern began to emerge. A shadowy organization operating in the shadows, its true motives obscured behind a veil of secrecy and deceit. It's like they're manipulating everything from behind the scenes, Sarah muttered, her brows furrowed in concentration. With each revelation, the sense of unease that had gripped us from the start grew more palpable. The pieces of the puzzle were falling into place, but the picture they painted was one of darkness and despair. "We have to keep digging," I insisted, my voice tinged with determination. "We can't let them get away with this." But even as I spoke the words, doubt gnawed at the edges of my resolve. The forces arrayed against us were powerful and elusive, their reach extending far beyond anything we had ever encountered before. As we delved deeper into the heart of the conspiracy, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were treading on dangerous ground. But with each step we took, the truth drew closer, beckoning us into the heart of darkness, where the answers we sought lay hidden, waiting to be uncovered. Little did we know, the journey ahead would test the limits of our courage and resolve, leading us down a path from which there would be no turning back. As the sinister conspiracy closed in around us, the sense of urgency grew more palpable with each passing moment. Time became our most precious commodity, a fleeting luxury that slipped through our fingers like grains of sand as we raced against the relentless march of the clock. "We're running out of time," Sarah exclaimed, her voice tinged with desperation as she scanned through the latest leads. I nodded grimly, the weight of our impending deadline pressing down on me like a suffocating weight. "We have to find a way to stop them before it's too late." With every passing second, the walls closed in around us, threatening to crush us beneath the weight of our own uncertainty. But even in the face of overwhelming odds, we refused to give in to despair, clinging to the slimmest thread of hope that we could still turn the tide in our favor. "We can't afford to make any mistakes," I muttered, my voice barely above a whisper as I wrestled with the gnawing sense of doubt that threatened to consume me. Sarah nodded in agreement, her expression grim as she stared at the screen before us. Every decision we make could mean the difference between success and failure. We have to choose wisely. With renewed determination, we threw ourselves into the fray, pushing ourselves to the brink of exhaustion in our relentless pursuit of the truth. But even as we raced against the clock, the odds seemed insurmountable, the forces arrayed against us too powerful to overcome. "We're running out of time," Sarah whispered, her voice tinged with defeat as she stared at the screen before us. But even in the face of seemingly insurmountable odds, we refused to give up hope. For as long as there was breath in our bodies, we would continue to fight, refusing to surrender to the darkness that threatened to consume us. Little did we know, the final showdown loomed on the horizon, drawing ever closer with each passing moment. And as the clock ticked inexorably towards our inevitable fate, we braced ourselves for the battle that would decide the fate of our very souls. As the tension reached its boiling point, we found ourselves standing on the precipice of the final showdown, the culmination of our harrowing journey looming before us like a dark specter. With each passing moment, the weight of our impending fate pressed down on us like a crushing weight, driving us to the brink of despair. "We can't turn back now," Sarah declared, her voice tinged with determination as she stared down the path that lay before us. I nodded solemnly, my heart pounding in my chest as I braced myself for the battle that awaited us. "We've come too far to let them win. We have to see this through to the end." With renewed resolve, we squared our shoulders and stepped into the fray, steeling ourselves for the confrontation that would decide the fate of our very souls. Every step forward brought us closer to the heart of darkness, where the forces of evil lay in wait, ready to unleash their wrath upon us. As we reached the epicenter of the final showdown, a sense of dread settled over us like a suffocating blanket, thickening the air with an oppressive weight. But even in the face of overwhelming odds, we refused to give in to despair, clinging to the slimmest thread of hope that we could still emerge victorious. "We have to stay focused," I muttered, my voice barely above a whisper as I stared down our adversaries with steely determination. Sarah nodded in agreement, her eyes blazing with a fierce intensity as she prepared to face the enemy head-on. We can't let fear dictate our actions. We have to fight with everything we've got. With a primal roar, we charged into battle, our weapons raised high as we clashed with the forces of darkness in a whirlwind of steel and fury. Every blow landed with the force of a thunderbolt, each strike fueled by the burning desire to emerge triumphant against all odds. As the dust settled and the smoke cleared, we stood victorious amidst the wreckage of our enemies, our breath ragged and our bodies battered but unbowed. Though the scars of battle may never fully heal, we took solace in the knowledge that we had emerged victorious, our courage and determination shining like a beacon in the darkness. But even as we celebrated our hard-won victory, we knew that the battle was far from over. For as long as evil lurked in the shadows, we would continue to stand vigilant, ready to face whatever challenges the future may hold. And as we gazed into the horizon, a sense of hope blossomed within us, lighting the way forward on the path to a brighter tomorrow. The dust of the final confrontation settled, leaving behind a silence that felt almost deafening in its intensity. As the adrenaline of battle faded, a heavy weariness settled over us, weighing down our limbs and clouding our thoughts. We stood amidst the wreckage of our adversaries, the echoes of the conflict still ringing in our ears. Sarah's voice broke the silence, her tone subdued yet tinged with relief. Is it over? I glanced around the dimly lit chamber, my gaze sweeping over the aftermath of the battle. I think so, I replied, my voice barely above a whisper. But at what cost? The toll of our ordeal was etched on our faces, the lines of exhaustion and anguish carving deep furrows in our features. We had faced our fears head-on and emerged victorious, but the scars of battle ran deeper than any physical wound. I don't know if I can do this anymore, Sarah admitted, her voice tinged with uncertainty as she surveyed the carnage around us. I reached out and clasped her hand, offering what little comfort I could in the face of our shared ordeal. We made it through together, I said softly, and we'll continue to stand together, no matter what. As we stood amidst the ruins of our enemies, a sense of solemnity settled over us like a heavy shroud. The battle may have been won, but the war was far from over. There would be more challenges ahead, more trials to face and obstacles to overcome. But as long as we stood united, we knew that we could weather any storm that came our way. And as we turned to leave the chamber behind, a glimmer of hope flickered in the darkness, lighting the way forward on the path to a brighter tomorrow. For though the scars of battle may never fully heal, we took solace in the knowledge that we have faced our fears and emerged stronger for it. And together, we would continue to walk the path of destiny, side by side, come what may.